It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George at New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're listening or watching. Hope you're doing okay today. And speaking of today, the sun is finally out here in upstate New York. I mean, I got a little scared. I got scared this morning, wondering what that yellow thing in the sky was, you know. I was getting ready to sail away. It's been raining so much. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located on beautiful St. Simons Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simons Island to get a decent Italian meal. And speaking of going to St. Simon's, I'm going to be there next week. That's right. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Well, actually, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Swing by Sal's if you're in the area and talk some boxing with me and Sal. We'll both be there at the restaurant enjoying his Italian cuisine, and you should stop by too. But we're only going to be there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so check us out. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by Gawk Box. Gawk Box, what is it, you say? What is it, you say? Well, I'll say this. It's a way to save you money. It's a way to get you stuff for free, and it's a way to help us out. What's better than a two-way street? Check out Gawk Box. Create an account today. Visit our website, www.billycboxing.com. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino. Check out their next boxing event, which is Friday night for the International Boxing Hall of Fame weekend. Get yourself some tickets. Make sure you mention Billy C. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can literally get a copy of it right now while you're watching or listening to the show. Just go to barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. Find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board. Oh, you're looking for a signed copy? Don't worry about it. I'll hook you up, man. I'll hook you up. Just visit our website, billycboxing.com, and click on the book. You can't miss it. Special shout out to all of our WGIG listeners in Brunswick, Georgia. And if you guys haven't been to Sal's yet, would you go over to Frederica Drive on St. Simon's Island? You won't regret it. It will be a regular stop. Hey, you want to take out some pizza? You can get it. Trust me. Go there. Listen, coming up on the show a little bit later, we got my man, Larry Hazard, joining us. I got some questions for him, and I'm looking for his opinion. Later after that, or let me break. Billy C, take two. After that, yeah, that's better. After that, we got the Blast from the Past. Alex Papali is going to be presenting the Blast from the Past with me. One of my favorite fighters. Thank God we got somebody that requested him. Rocky Graziano, former world middleweight champion and boxing Hall of Famer. And what a character he was. We'll be talking to him a little bit later. And speaking of characters, and speaking of Rocky, joining me right now is my man, Sal Rocky Senecola. Good morning, Sal Rocky Senecola.
Good morning, Bill, and I can't believe how apropos. Your Blast from the Past is one of my favorite fighters of all time, Rocky Graziano. And Rocky gave me my ring name. that's a story I'll go into later.
Hey, well, I hope you didn't. What did you turn into, an Irishman since yesterday? Well,
Yeah,
the green. What's with the green?
right now? Easy. I
What's
want to
with-
be over there.
What's with
I
the
don't want to
green?
be up north.
Yeah, you reminded me of my hapless Jets, man.
I'm sorry.
I will.
I do have a blue shirt. I could bring out the giant blue
Oh
shirt.
God, I don't know what's worse: seeing you in jet green, knowing that my season is already over, or watching you in giant blue. It's either one is bad. But hey, some news happened since the last time we did our show, which was yesterday. It was announced. Well, I got it. A little birdie told me, and it will be officially announced next week. But the rematch, Anthony Joshua against Wladimir Klitschko. Apparently, Wladimir Klitschko is exercising his rematch clause in the contract.
Wow.
Sal, quickly, I'm going to let you give us your thoughts first. What's your thoughts? The rematch taking place before the end of this year. As a matter of fact, according to multiple reports, this fight must take place before December 2nd. So the initial thought was that this fight was going to be taking place in November, and it looks like it will be taking place in November. What's your thoughts, my man?
Well, I'll tell you, I could think of two people that are glad to hear that. Probably Al Heyman and Deontay Wilder. But I'll tell you, other than that, I think that it should be a great fight. I mean, it was a good fight the first time around. And as I said, we both had a draw going into that eighth round. And, I definitely think that it will be a good fight. And Joshua will either solidify his place as a heavyweight champion, or Vlad will have one more thing to pull out of his Vlad bag.
His Vlad bag? Is that like the Vlad bag of tricks?
Vlad bag.
Vlad bag. Boy, is that a Vlad
His
bag?
Vlad bag of tricks.
No. Is that a Ziploc Vlad bag, or is that? Oh, wait a minute. Is that a Glad bag? I don't know. Stop plugging these places, man. Come on,
Too early
Sal.
for my puns.
But I tell you, 90,000 people were in the live audience in April when they fought April 29th. And you're right, Sal. We got treated to a great fight. And in my opinion, Anthony Joshua, after winning, getting up off the canvas, and arguably watching Wladimir Klitschko in one of his best performances, even at over 40 years old, I have mixed emotions about the rematch. I'll be honest. I really don't think that the rematch. I mean, if the fight went to the scorecards, and it ended in a different way, I agree with you. The fight was close. It was even going into that 11th round, as far as I'm concerned.
Going into that ninth round, it was definitely even on my scorecard. I did see Joshua take away the ninth round, the 10th round, and I said to myself that Vlad needed the 11th big and the 12th big to win a decision. However, it never got that far because Joshua, as we know, ended the fight in the 11th round.
You're right, and I was wrong. I was saying that the fight was even in the 11th, but we both had it even after the going into the ninth, meaning that the last 4 rounds were going to make the difference of the fight. But the truth of the matter is that the fight ended by stoppage, by knockout, and in a way that was, basically no, you can't make any excuses. You can't argue that the fight was stopped prematurely. I know a lot of fans thought that Klitschko should have been allowed to continue. I don't think he thought he should, and he was in some trouble, But my point, Sal, is that the fight, it wasn't a controversial ending. Yes, it was a great fight, but it wasn't a controversial ending. And I really didn't think that we needed to see another rematch. Now, I understand the business side, of course, and Wladimir Klitschko had the say whether there was going to be a rematch or not. And I'm just not sure of the reasons, aside from, probably 20 million reasons. But the truth of the matter is, I don't see an outcome being any different. And if there was a different outcome, if Wladimir Klitschko did happen to come back and beat Anthony Joshua in the rematch, well, I would think that it would have to set up a third fight. But I don't see the fight going any different. As a matter of fact, I see Wladimir Klitschko possibly fighting a more cautious fight the second time around, trying to protect himself, and maybe Anthony Joshua going after Klitschko sooner than what he did, and somehow work on his conditioning. Because remember, he was spent. He was out of gas, man. How he got refueled in between rounds, I don't know. But if you recall, a fly landing on him would have knocked him over, and he wasn't holding or nothing. So it's going to be interesting to see what he learned from that fight, Sal.
Oh, yes, you were 100% right. I think it was the fifth round. I could be wrong. That Anthony Joshua just looked like he took his ever-ready battery and he just charged out. I mean, he said, "This is the round. I'm going to stop you. I'm going to knock you down." And he just literally charged at him and throwing punches, flailing away. And he caught Vlad and dropped Vlad. And I was surprised when Wladimir Klitschko got up. But not only did he get up, but he fought back that round. Because that round he got dropped in the early part of the round, but he came back, not only lasted the round, but he almost came back to enough where you could have said, well, instead of a 10-8, maybe I'll give that a 10-9 round. But he did come back, and Anthony Joshua was doing all he could do to hold on. I mean, toward the end of the round, because he was just totally out of gas. And that's when Vlad, started coming on. So, when fighters have a rematch, besides a $20 million incentive, they each may feel they're going to best the other guy in a more credible fashion, in a sense where you're going to see Anthony Joshua. He feels now he owns Wladimir Klitschko, and he's going to go out there and capitalize on what was good and hopefully not see what was bad, working on his conditioning, working on inside fighting, his tying up, all the good things that he should have done and learned from that fight. Wladimir Klitschko, on the other hand, as you said, is he going to fight a more cautious fight, or is he going to put the pedal down earlier, knowing that he could gas out maybe Joshua if he's not ready and prepared, and he's going to take it to another level, another round? I don't know. But it's going to be an interesting observation to see which strategies two fighters will use, and hopefully it's going to be at least an equal of the first fight with the action and the ebb and flow of the second fight.
I'm not. Listen, the one thing I love about Anthony Joshua, and the reason why I think that he's the best heavyweight on the planet today, is that he learns from every fight. So he picks something up from every fight, and he has been doing this since he's been pro. I mean, obviously he was doing it as an amateur too, but we're talking specifically his pro career, and he has gotten better and better and better. And when we've seen a kink in his armor, so to speak, he's come back and improved it. Now, we came back after this fight and we saw a couple of things in Anthony Joshua. One, seemingly, was his conditioning, where he ran out of gas, like we talked about. That's something that he's got to work on. Holding and clinching when he is in trouble or when he does need a breather is something he's got to work on. I can see Anthony Joshua moving forward and working on some of these improvements. As far as Wladimir Klitschko, this is a guy that's been around and was at the top of the heavyweight division for a decade. You're not teaching this guy anything new. I think his approach is going to be a formulated game plan that's going to try to use Anthony Joshua's advantages as a disadvantage. In other words, knowing that he's going to be coming forward, maybe working on counterpunching a little better, maybe letting his hand go, that right hand, let it go a little more. He dropped Anthony Joshua in the first fight. He did get him in some trouble a couple of times. Maybe be more aggressive. I don't know. I'm thinking, and trust me, we'll have a lot of time to talk about this fight between now and the projected date of the end of October or beginning of November. But I really think that, although it could go either way, I really think that Wladimir Klitschko is going to fight a little more cautiously. I would like to see him fight aggressively, but I think cautious is going to be the MO. What do you think?
I don't know. And if I was Wladimir Klitschko, I probably would not be thinking about fighting cautiously. I would want to go out there and beat him to the punch, get my jab established right from the get-go. I dictate the pace of this fight because, like I said, Anthony Joshua, it was a decent fight going up, but when he just put in his mind on that fifth round, he's gonna. I mean, he literally just it looked like he put the charging rhino button into his arsenal, and he just literally went after Vlad. Vlad's got to be careful. He's got to be waiting for that because I think Anthony Joshua is going to do something like that to try and establish his presence and his dominance early by that same kind of maneuver. So with that, Vlad's got to be looking to move, counterpunch, establish that jab, get the range of distance, and yes, let that right hand go. There were many times in that fight where Joshua was a little wild with his shots, and his head was one place, his hands were another, and bam, he could have came over with overhand right, and it could have connected. I thought about it, I saw it, and when he saw it and realized it was too late, and already Joshua was in another position. He's got to work on that. He's got to look at those films, and he's got to be able to capitalize on what was there for him to take. But we'll see what happens.
Hey,
I think he's going to fight a smart fight, Vlad. I think he will.
I got another question for you, but it's going to have to wait till after the break. All right?
I knew it. I knew that break was coming up.
Well,
I knew it.
I'm glad you're starting to finally get. I'm glad you're finally starting to get with the program, knowing the time, knowing that we have obligations, and knowing the rules, Sal. I'm glad because you're a rebel when it comes to that. But we are going to take a break. I got another question for Sal as soon as we come back. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C Show. Glad you could be with us today. And speaking of being with us, with me right now is Sal Rocky Senecola. And Sal, although you've never been knocked out in a fight, I know you've had a loss on your record, but you've never been knocked out. But what's it? I'm sure you have an opinion on this, but when a fighter gets stopped and then he comes back and he fights the same person, the same fighter again, does anything change in the mindset? Like, in other words, Wladimir Klitschko had been stopped previously in his career, and he kind of changed his style around thanks to Manny Stewart. And, he became a pretty decent defensive fighter. And over the years, everybody still said that he had a suspect chin. And I think he proved in the Joshua fight that his chin was pretty solid. I mean, anybody getting hit from a guy 6'7", 250 pounds, very few people are going to stay standing. Is his mindset going to be different? Is he going to be able to go into this fight going, balls to the wall, trying to stop Anthony Joshua? Or is he going to be more conscious of Anthony Joshua's power and maybe go, like I said in the beginning when we first started talking about this, maybe go as a safety first type of a game plan? What's your thoughts?
No, because he's going to be afraid to lose. He's going to be afraid to win. And I'm telling you right now, and I did get stopped one time. My last fight before I retired against Louis Lamelli. He was ranked number 1 in the world.
That was a TKO, right? They waved it off because you couldn't continue. You weren't knocked out.
Waved it off because I couldn't continue. Right. Yes, I had a ripped hamstring. That's a whole other story we can go into one day about that fight and how it evolved and how it transpired and what happened. But my friend Randy Newman, who was the judge of that, who was the referee of that fight, saw that I was in trouble. And I was down. And I was probably as out as you can get. But he did stop the fight.
Randy Newman, wait a minute. Isn't he the one that wrote the song about short people?
Yeah, short people. Yeah. He wrote about me. Short people got
no reason
to live. Sorry.
No,
okay.
But anyway, different mindset.
Let me tell you something. Yeah, I was full of piss and vinegar after that fight when I said I wanted to get Louis Lamelli back in that ring so bad because I knew I was at my best. And even though he had devastating power, I mean, this guy had like a record of 23 wins, no defeats with 22 knockouts. And he caught me with some good shots. But the bottom line is I wish I could have had a rematch with that fight. And I know he went on to fight Pernell Whitaker, but the bottom line is I felt in my heart of hearts a different style of fight. I had a ripped hamstring when I fought that fight. That's a whole nother story we'll go into one other day. And I was a lame duck. If I was healthy and everything else, I would have had a whole nother fight plan. And yes, I would have welcomed an opportunity to fight him again. And in fact, I think we can make that comeback. I think we can do that fight.
Hey, Sal, politician Senecola, answer the question I asked you.
The question is this. No, I don't think Klitschko's going to take a safety-first approach. I really don't. Because you know what? This is either going to be one of two things. He knows he's going to go out there. It may be his last fight if he loses. And it's going to be a cash-out fight on that level. So he's going to let it all out, let it all hang out, and he's going to go in there and try and win and see what he did positive in that fight. And that's establishing some dominance and coming in and catching him. He caught Anthony Joshua with some shots. Now he's got to perfect that and use that right hand a little bit, maybe use a right lead once in a while, follow with a left hook, and he's got to throw punches and bunches, move his head a little bit, keep those hands up, and I think he's going to fight a more aggressive fight to go out. I don't think he's going to want this fight to go past 6-7 rounds, and I think he's going to try and go out there and be dominant early and not afraid to exchange with Anthony Joshua. So you're going to see somebody get hurt early in the fight before the third round, I promise you.
Yeah, no, that's good. Interesting analogy about the
observation.
Interesting analogy about the cash out because the whole reason that Klitschko, and I honestly believe this, I know he made a lot of money in the first fight, but I honestly believe a lot of the reasons why he had the first fight was his strong desire to regain the titles. It means, we're critical of the titles and how easy they are and how many there are today and stuff, and rightfully so. However, there are some fighters that the titles mean a lot to, and I believe that Wladimir Klitschko is one of those guys. And I think that the only reason he came back was to regain the title. And then, of course, the winner of this fight would have an opportunity to collect the final title, the final meaningful title, which is Deontay Wilder's WBC title, a title that Wladimir Klitschko has never held. His brother has, at least, at the end here. So to suggest that it's a cash-out fight,
If he loses,
Vlad, yeah, no. If he loses, there's the good side of a downside. That he
right.
he gets a big chunk of cash. But I really think that he believes he can win the fight. I think it's going to boil down to what type of game plan he goes into this fight with. It was, just as a side note, one of the stumbling blocks for this fight was the IBF. Now, if you recall, the IBF was the first title that Anthony Joshua won. And, the IBF was, getting kind of ticked off that he didn't fight their mandatory. Now, his mandatory is Kubrat Pulev for the IBF. Kubrat Pulev has earned the mandatory title shot. So the IBF has agreed to let Anthony Joshua fight Wladimir Klitschko for the rematch without jeopardizing being stripped, which I think is a smart move, because I think that if the IBF stripped Anthony Joshua, I think that they would have just lost some credibility, like the WBO did when they stripped Klitschko beforehand and opened up that title, and now Joseph Parker has it. So really the heavyweight title, as much as we could try, needs to be a unified title. At least we got two main players right now, in my opinion, with Anthony Joshua, and then of course Deontay Wilder, who really hasn't fought anybody yet. But anyway, hey, we're going to talk a little more about that a little later. But Sal, I got some baseball scores and an email that I want to try and get out of the way before we get Larry Hazard on. In baseball, the Red Sox top the Yankees 5-4. The Orioles beat the Pirates 65 in 10 innings. The Angels beat the Tigers 5-3. The Reds over the Cardinals 13-1. White Sox over the Rays 4-2. The Phillies beat the Braves 3-1. Brewers over the Giants 5-2. The Rangers, in an interleague matchup, beat up the Mets. Well, didn't beat them up. It was a slugfest, but still, the Mets lose again. What a bunch of losers. I feel terrible that I'm even a Mets fan, but the Rangers topped the Mets 10-8. Cubbies beat the Marlins 10-2. The Royals over the Astros 9-7. The Rockies beat the Indians 11-3. Diamondbacks over the Blue Jays 10-1. Mariners beat the Twins 12-2. And the Nationals, I think the Nationals might be the best team in baseball. They beat the Dodgers 2-1. We got an email, Sal. This one's from my man Jesse. He says, "Hey, Billy C. and Sal, I just read that Louis Neary has reached a deal to face Yamanaka in Japan. This should be an excellent fight. How do you see this fight so far?" Yamanaka in Japan is going to be a tough out. No disrespect to Louis Neary, but I like the fight. I agree with Jesse on this one. He says the IBF has ordered an elimination fight between Carlos Ocampo and Panamarev, and the winner gets to face Spence. I don't think these guys are ready, but will give Spence some problems. How do you see this so far? These elimination fights, Sal, they're part of the problem, because I agree with Jesse here. I don't think, and again, no disrespect to Ocampo or Parmananev, but the truth of the matter is neither one of them are on the Errol Spence level at this point, and Errol Spence is kind of arrived. We don't want to have to see him being held hostage by a sanctioning body, forcing him to fight fights that he's going to be criticized against, when we want to see him fight major fights against the major other players in the division. What's your thoughts?
I think you're 100% right. I like what you said, and I like how you explained it, because you are correct. And, there's no turning back now for Errol Spence. I mean, he has arrived, as you said, and I think we're going to see more and more challenging of himself against these other opponents that are on his level or even greater. But I think he'll rise to the occasion. This kid's got something special. He's got a heart of a passion to win. And he'll figure out how to do it when he's in the ring. And that's what a good fighter does. They figure out their opponent, and they use their strength and their assets to overcome their adversity that they're presented with at the time. And I think Errol Spence has that character and that kind of arsenal in his bag of tricks there.
Jesse says, "Hey, Billy C, are you interested in Cecilia Brækhus against Erica Ferraris?" He says, both beautiful women. I will admit, I love...
I might be interested in that.
I love beautiful women. There's no question about that. And if there's any beautiful women out there that are looking for an aging, overweight, balding Italian guy, give me a call, because I'm available. But, I got to be honest. As much as I was involved with female boxing for a long time. I had a multi-division world champion, and we accomplished a lot together, Chevelle Hallback. I've been turned off by women's boxing. What I loved about it during Chevy's run was that, the female fighters seem to fight all the best fights. They're starting to do what the men do now, duck and pick and choose. And Brackus is one of them. So, no, I'm not too interested in that. But, Sal, we're going to take a break and get Larry on the phone. But I want to tell you a funny thing that happened the other day. I was invited to a party, and it was kind of, warm out, and they had the pool open and stuff. And I don't know, I had a couple of scotches in me or whatever. And I don't know. The devil made me do it, Sal. I thought it would be kind of funny if I don't know. I kind of relieved myself.
Would you push in the pool?
No, I thought it would be kind of funny, and even though it sounds childish, to relieve myself in the pool just as a joke, So I was getting ready to take a leak in the pool.
What?
And then the lifeguard yelled at me so loud I almost fell in, Sal. I was like, what's going on? But no, it's obviously just a little joke.
Joking, Bill.
But somebody told me that the other day. I thought it was funny as hell. But hey, Sal, you got a chance to refill those little shot glasses of coffee that you drink.
One mug to another.
Yeah, there's one mug to another right there. And we're going to, look forward to getting you back on. We're going to be doing Larry Hazard will be joining us here in a couple minutes. Then we got our blast from the past, Rocky Graziano with Alex Papali. And just to give the listeners and viewers a heads up, a programming note, we are not doing a live show Friday all of next week because I will be with Sal in St. Simon's working on our project that we will be announcing. We will be announcing after we get back. It's some really good stuff that we're working on, so we're excited about that. So if you are in the St. Simon's area, make sure you swing down. And one other thing, tomorrow we will talk about the Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev fight because we won't have a chance to give you our final thoughts and predictions before the fight next week. We will be doing a post-fight show live as soon as the fight is over on next Saturday. But we will give you our thoughts. So make sure you tune in tomorrow for that stuff. And Sal, we will look forward to you in a couple of minutes. And until then, we'll see you later, my man.
We'll see you later. And I just want to let you know, you have a lot of people that are excited that you're coming down here. So I can't wait to have that union at the bar.
Well, that sounds good. You better get a couple of more bottles of the blue. You know what I mean?
Oh, we'll.
But,
absolutely.
It sounds like, I gotta go. But
bye.
Sal, I'll talk to you later, my man. That's Sal Rocky Sanacola. We'll catch him in a bit. I'm going to take a short break, and we will be back in about 2.
Billy C will be right back.
This message is for all Americans that owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS. Look, I know you want to keep ignoring those letters, but the problem isn't going away. It's really stressful, and you don't know where to turn.
The good news is you have rights, and we can help resolve your IRS problems.
If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, our qualified CPAs, tax negotiators, and support staff know the law and know how to get your situation under control legally and permanently.
Call the number on your screen now and we will contact the IRS on your behalf, help you end wage garnishments, stop collection calls, remove tax liens, get rid of IRS and state tax penalties, and reduce the amount you owe if you qualify. You wouldn't go to fix your car without going to a mechanic, so why face the IRS without an experienced company that can help you?
Let us take the stress of back taxes and the IRS off your shoulders so you can spend time on the important things in your life, like your family or your business. If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, call now and find out how we can help you.
Have you heard? Proactive Plus is faster and better than ever. Stay tuned for a 1,000,000 bottle giveaway, and you'll also receive free shipping. Do you have troubled skin, acne, Well, we have great news. With Proactive Plus, your acne can heal and you can help prevent new breakouts from happening. Don't miss this limited time offer. Give us a call at 800-567-0214 because we're going to let 1 million people try Proactive Plus risk-free and get 2 free gifts and also receive free shipping when you call right now. You heard it. This offer won't last long. So call Proactive Plus now and you'll receive a 60-day risk-free trial of Proactive Plus, 2 free extras, and free shipping. Call 800-567-0214. This is our exclusive radio offer, never on TV. Get your risk-free 60-day trial of Proactive Plus with free shipping. That's right, free shipping. Don't wait. Call 800-567-0214. That's 800-567-0214.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could join us. And speaking of joining us, joining me right now is my man. He's a Boxing Hall of Famer and the New Jersey Boxing Commissioner and newly elected Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Famer, Larry Hazard. Good morning, Larry.
Hey, good morning, Billy. Hey, Billy, did you just call me on the other phone?
Yeah, I did. We tried twice, and it picked up and then disconnected.
I thought you were a telemarketer.
yeah. I'm trying to sell the fans a bill of good on the sport of boxing. No. I always use that. I use that secret bat line as our primary now because it's such a good connection. But no big deal. I wanted to. I got a bunch of stuff to talk to you about. First and foremost, I wanted to get your thoughts on the. I guess we'll call it a fight. Adonis Stevenson against Andres Fonfara. The fight, there's nothing to talk about with the fight except for a couple of things. Number one, Stevenson claiming that he's the greatest light heavyweight of all time after that fight. Parading around with a cape and a crown. He's the king. He's this. This guy is delusional. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind or anybody in the know's mind that Al Heyman, who's his advisor, manager, whatever, also knows that this guy is nothing special. They've been, ducking all the bigger names. He's given Alvarez more step-aside money than Alvarez has made in the ring. What do you make of Stevenson and his claims? Is this guy just trying to set up a big fight, or is he delusional?
Well, he could be a little bit of both, and it's quite obvious that age notwithstanding, he obviously doesn't go to the computer or do any research looking at YouTube or any of those mechanisms. All he needs to do is go back and look at some of the light heavyweights of the 1980s and 90s. I won't even go any further back. Greatest light heavyweight of all times? Shame on you. Shame on him or anyone else who would think that he could even be mentioned in the same conversation with Bob Foster, Archie Moore, or even coming closer to our time, Matthew Saad Muhammad, Michael Spinks, Yaki Lopez, Marvin Johnson. Come on. The list goes on and on and on. He would be a second tier light heavyweight among those fighters. Matter of fact, last Sunday, I was inducted into the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame, along with two of the best light heavyweights of their era, Mike Rossman and Michael Spinks. Okay, Rossman being a little bit lesser, I think, of the two, would have taken a guy like Stevens apart. I mean, it would have been like a sparring session, with him being a sparring partner. So I think that he's probably leaning more towards trying to build a big payday, and this move towards self-aggrandizement certainly doesn't hold water, with anyone who knows. It's ridiculous.
Well, I tell you what, Larry, you don't even have to go past today's crop of light heavyweights, because the guys who are fighting next week, Kovalev and Ward, both of them will beat Stevenson. So I think it's sad. And we're always worried about the credibility of the sport of boxing, especially today when we have fighters that are avoiding other fighters and choosing the easiest paths to making money and all these things. We're being cheated in a sense, the fans and the sport of the big fights. And you got a guy like this making these outrageous comments, and it's just I don't know if they think that they're getting more followers to watch him either lose or believe his propaganda, or the way I think is that they're pushing more fans away. More fans are saying, "What's this guy talking about? This is like fake. This is like WWE type stuff." You know what I mean?
Well, I guess there is a certain percentage of the population who buys into this nonsense because it continues to progress. So there has to be some level of success in this commercialization of their skills among a certain population, or it would stop. You see it with your Stevens. Here's this Adrian Broner. Here's another one who I think kind of tries to market himself with hype. So obviously it has its selling qualities, or you would hear less of it instead of hearing more. A guy goes in. I don't know where Fonfara was. He claims he didn't know what was going on, so he should have never even been in there, because he certainly looked as if he didn't belong in the ring, even with a mediocre light heavyweight. It's those types of performances, those types of opponents that sort of motivates these guys to get up on that soapbox after they win against someone who was as lackluster as Fonfara was last week.
Well, speaking of Fonfara, and I was telling my listeners earlier in the week that I was going to basically throw this at you, even though I know you're not going to be happy with the question, but I got to do what I got to do, But the truth of the matter is I'm going to be just point blank, Larry. I think Virgil Hunter is one of the most overrated trainers in the sport of boxing. This is a guy that's acting like he's a Zen master and all of this stuff. And when he was put on the spot, first of all, he was brought in to help Fonfara with his defense, right? And I didn't see any. The word defense did not appear in the round in a couple of seconds of the second round during that fight. I saw nothing resembling defense. As a matter of fact, I thought he had better defense when he used offense as his defensive mode previously. The second thing was the fact that I was criticized for being critical of Virgil Hunter, when people were saying, well, he was saving his fighter when he stopped the fight. Well, if he was saving his fighter, and we've never heard, and even with Ward, he's great with Ward because you know how some trainers and fighters are a natural fit and they work well together, but without each other, they're nothing. And I always use Kevin Rooney and Mike Tyson as an example. They were great together, and separately they weren't. And this could be the case with Hunter and Andre Ward. Obviously, they've never lost together. They're successful, etc., etc. But show me another fighter that Virgil Hunter has helped. He almost got Amir Khan killed. It looks like Fonfara, was pretty much destroyed. When asked what the deal was, he says, I told my fighter not to throw a punch in the second round. And he tried to defend that instruction by saying, well, his legs weren't under him. He was still hurt. I wanted him to try to get his legs up. Listen, if you're looking out for the safety of your fighter, I mean, isn't it smart to know that your fighter is still in trouble? The guy tells us he doesn't remember anything after the knockdown in the first round, that he survived another minute and a half. I mean, if you're truly looking to protect your fighter, you don't let him go out for the second round. You don't tell him not to throw a punch. That's just like, you know, putting your hands behind your back and letting somebody shoot at you. What's your thoughts?
Well, if that's what he said, I don't think that was good advice. You can't send a fighter out and tell him don't throw a punch. I mean, then you may as well end the fight. That's what fighting is about, throwing punches and being aggressive. But I think what happens, and not to be overly critical of Virgil, it's still up to the fighter. And I think that this is where sometimes trainers allow themselves to get put on the spot, because this whole thing about great trainers and you hear a lot of that, and I think a lot of that became popular, of course, with starting with Mike. Certainly, you get a fighter, and in some instances, you get that perfect marriage, that perfect fit. And I think it's because it happens often when there's a trainer who has, the term I use, he raised the fighter. They started from nothing and they came together. So there's a chemistry there where a lot of it is psychological on the part of the fighter also, where it's not so much that the trainer is that great, but it's that the fighter maximizes his skills because he doesn't want to disappoint that person that's in the corner with him. And that person that's there's such a great fit that he gives that fighter another level of confidence. It's almost like when you're in a street fight and your big brother is there, as opposed to him not being there. Now, you're going to fight harder because you don't want to disappoint him, and because he gives you another level of confidence. And I think that that's more of what happens in these instances where these guys get the labels of great fighters. In very few instances are these so-called great trainers still in the corner with the guy that they raised. Manuel Stewart was different because him and Tommy Hearns came all the way from the beginning. Then you have other guys like Angelo Dundee and Eddie Futch, who were master. They were masterful trainers. I mean, they proved it over and over and over by taking their charges to another level. But then you have the other guys who were so-called great trainers, where good fighters, good athletes were brought to them. They didn't bring these guys from the beginning. These fighters were brought to them because they were supposedly, or they are supposedly, the great trainers. And oftentimes, the fighter loses a fight that he should win, or he shows a lack of preparation, and then all of that falls back on that so-called trainer. And I think a lot of that could be happening to Virgil Hunter, in that, certainly in this case with Fonfara, okay, he came in, they brought him in, he was supposed to be able to remediate this guy, teach him certain things that obviously didn't come to pass. And so now he has to bear the brunt of that, because the fighter certainly appeared not to be prepared enough to be in the ring with Adonis Stevenson. So that's the way I look at that.
The bottom line is I want to hear instruction. I don't want to. I got an email the other day from one of my guys who's not only a regular listener, but he contributes to the show. My man Coach from StrictlyBusinessBoxing.com, and he sent me an article about some comments Sugar Ray Leonard made about the terrorists and all of this, and he was upset and frustrated about how, basically weak we're all becoming, as a society. And I replied to him and I said, everybody overdoes it. We overanalyze things today, Larry. In baseball, managers overmanage. They look at a spray chart. Oh, Larry has it, hits to the right, so everybody move to the right. And a lot of times it works. And I think the same is said about boxing. They overanalyze things and they make it more difficult than what it is. If we go back to basics. I don't think we have some of these problems. The most successful fighters are fighters that do things automatically. The fighters that have to stop and think about, I got to keep my hand up here. I got to watch out for this. I got to do that. When they're overthinking during a fight, they're susceptible to being hit and to lose. And I think that, there's too much data available to us. And we as human beings can't, process the data quick enough. We need our natural reflexes to take over, especially in this sport. So guys that are trying to be, mental Zen masters like Virgil does, it doesn't work with all fighters. You need the right guy to understand what you're saying. And I think that's really what took place with Fonfara. Go ahead.
Well, Billy, allow me, because you make a very cogent. You make some very good points, and I agree with you 100% on one thing on everything that you said, but one thing specifically, it comes down to instruction, okay? And I should have even included that in my brief summary, prior. It comes down to instruction. The great or the good trainers are people who can adapt to the situation at hand and give a strategic formula for winning. That's instruction. And as far, like you say, all of this information, it has to go back to the basics. All of the great trainers from the past, drill in the gym. A fighter doesn't even have to think about what he's going to do. He reacts automatically as a result of drill. Repetition is the mother of retention. And fighters go into the gym, and the basic trainers, the old-style trainers that just drill them day in and day out on the basic rudiments, and then when fight time comes, that trainer knows how to map out a strategy as the fight progresses. Those are your great trainers, and they are few and far between today.
Listen, the best trainers, I always laugh. Today I make fun of a lot of trainers because they're rah-rah men. You got to do this, the best trainers only say one or two things in between rounds, and they'll say it over and over. You got to use your jab. You got to use your jab. You got to use your jab. They hit home one or two things. Because let's face it, when you're in the corner, and I'm not a trainer, I never claimed to be, but when you're in the corner and you're a trainer and you're telling your fighter, you got to watch out for his overhand right. And by the way, the body is open, and keep your jab out, and make sure you move to the right, and do that. When the bell sounds, you think that fighter remembers anything of what he just said? All he's going is, did I get a drink of water? And these fighters, again, it's what I'm saying, Larry. We overdo it today in every aspect, not just boxing, in life. We overdo it. Everything we do is so overanalyzed that we're becoming stupid. I was seeing this thing the other day, and they were comparing how we watch and how much time has changed. You go back to I think 1985. I think the 80s are still here. It was 30 years ago, and they're saying, well, when you used to go to a place, you go to Blockbuster Video, you pick up a movie. You interact with the person. Oh, you saw that movie, that horror flick? Oh, well, here, try this one. This one's good. You have that interaction. Today, no interaction. Nobody wants to interact. We don't even use phones anymore to talk because we'd rather text because you don't want to have to talk to somebody. You order stuff on the phone so you don't have to. You have it delivered so you don't have to go into the store. The interaction is gone. And it's starting to to trickle down to everything in sports and everything. You know, kids used to be able to go up to a baseball player and get their autograph. Now, forget about it. You know, they'll send their PR person and hand you out pre-signed pictures or something. You know, I mean, it's sad. You know, I wanted to ask you some other things. We're running out of time, but a couple of important things. What was your thoughts? And this is up your alley as a commissioner. This whole Leon Lawson Jr. situation that took place, I feel personally the Maryland State Athletic Commission did not act promptly. They waited too long. Now the Maryland State with the official charges, this guy finally turned himself in, and they reduced the charge. Larry, originally it was a assault charge, which was a felony. He turns himself in after being on the lam for how many weeks, which was a joke in itself. But they turns himself in, and they reduce it to a misdemeanor, assault and battery in a second degree. To me, this is not setting an example, and I think it's sad. And the reason that they gave, Larry, was that they didn't have sufficient evidence. I'm saying to myself, they didn't have sufficient evidence. We have Showtime video in high definition. How much more evidence do you need than watching what took place? What's your thoughts?
That's laughable. It's laughable.
It is laughable.
And if he's licensed, his license should have been revoked immediately. That's from the commission standpoint. And I think at some point, I really do think at some point, that the fighters are going to have to be held responsible for the people in their corners.
Yes.
I mean, adults are held responsible for the acts of their children. And even though these are not children, we have to find a way to curtail some of these things that happen. Not that they happen all the time. I think that the commissions around the country now have to look at that and make sure that they are more vigilant with their personnel in keeping these. It's always these people who are not fighters. It's the people around that often cause the problems.
Yep.
So I think at some point the fighters are going to have to be held a little bit more responsible, and then they will take a greater level of responsibility than who's around them. And I think that in that way we will begin to curtail some of that stuff.
If the incident happened, and I was saying this yesterday, if the incident happened, like an emotional situation, in other words, and I still believe that the disqualification was controversial to begin with. The hit after the bell was controversial to begin with. But putting that aside, if it happened right then, and I'm not saying it would have been right, but if the guy reacted emotionally right then and went over and laid one on the kid, he's still wrong. But he had an opportunity to say, well, my emotions got the better of me. I ran. But this was several minutes, 5-6 minutes after it happened. Then he nonchalantly, we see it all on film, he goes over there and he sets up the sucker punch, So, I mean, it's like premeditated, and how they reduce that. I mean, to reduce that is really sad. And I think that not only the commission, but the state of Maryland itself is looking pretty silly here.
Yeah, and you make another very good point, because isn't that the reason why even with more serious laws, premeditation, I think, kind of garners a higher level of punishment than something that's acted right then and there out of emotion, And so that's a very good example that you give. This was clearly premeditated. Not only that, so much to the point where the fighter seemed to be totally off guard. Everyone in the corner was off guard. The guy walked over very calmly, as if he's going to congratulate the fighter winner, and he hauled off and cold cops him.
I know.
He already planned that ahead of time.
Exactly.
So I think that should definitely be met with a more severe punishment than what they gave this guy.
And not only that, Larry, But the commission's responsibility is to protect the fighters too. The fighters, the corner. I mean, so in a sense, they're failing the guy who got hit. They're working with the other side, and they're failing the guy who got hit. And I think it's a dual problem. It's the commission and the state. I think they're both looking pretty silly here. One last thing, and we only got about a minute or so, Larry. One last thing. It was pretty much announced, and it will officially be announced next week, that Anthony Joshua and Wladimir Klitschko will fight the rematch. Klitschko is exercising the rematch clause. Most likely it has to take place before December. The IBF agreed to not force Anthony Joshua or strip him. They will let this fight take place. Most likely the end of October, beginning of November is the projected date. What's your quick thoughts on the rematch?
Well, as you can recall, I was in favor of a rematch from the very beginning. You remember our show right after the fight. I really think that this fight deserves a rematch. I think I can safely say, without the position coming into it, I don't think that the result is going to be any different. Might even have a worse result. I can see Joshua knocking Klitschko out early in their next fight. I think that Klitschko has pretty much had his day, but I do think that that performance that he turned in against Joshua is deserving of a rematch if that's what he wants. I think that a rematch, especially if he loses, which I think he will, should be the clinker, the convincer that it's time for him to move on. And he's an intelligent guy, and I think that that's what he needs to make that final decision. That's what I think is happening here with him deciding that he wants the rematch, is that he's still a little bit unsure whether he wants to hang him up, or it could be that he might feel that he could win, okay? If he wins, then maybe they'll have a rubber match and that'll be it. But I don't see any difference in the results, but I think that he's very deserving of the rematch. I really do.
Larry, I appreciate your thoughts. And, hey, we're off next week. We're doing a special program that I'm going to be talking about when we get back, but I won't be doing any live shows next week. But we will be back the following week, and we'll get to talk about the Kovalev-Ward rematch. So we'll look forward to you then.
Okay, Billy, I look forward to it also.
Yeah, and I will be reaching out to you anyway and tell you what's going on. So.
Okay, baby.
All right, my man. Have a good one.
You too.
That's Larry Hazard, Boxing Hall of Famer, New Jersey Athletic Commissioner, giving us his thoughts. Listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, the blast from the past, Rocky Graziano with Alex Papali in about 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And, well, it's that time again. It's time for the Blast from the Past. Now, the Blast from the Past is being brought to us by the Title Bout Championship computer game. Get yourself a copy right now. Visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the Title Bout computer game banner. And also, it's being brought to us in part by KOFantasyBoxing.com. Check it out. Visit the site, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Today's Blast from the Past features by request, and if you have a request, just drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com. I think we have one more request in line, and then we pick them. So if you got some, email me, and we'll be glad to do it. This week's Blast from the Past, one of my favorite fighters, Rocky Graziano. And joining me right now to tell us all about The Rock is my man, Alex Perpali. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning. See, how are you?
Not too bad, my man. Not too bad. The Rock. Rocky
Is it really
Graziano.
chilly up there in upstate New York? Because it's been quite chilly here in southern Connecticut.
Yeah, it has been cold. We're supposed to get near 70 today, and it slowly rises. And by the time I am en route to St. Simon's, we're supposed to hit 80 here. So I'm anticipating, hopefully, going to some nice weather. And I hope I don't bring cold weather to where I'm going, because I've about had it with this weather, man.
Yeah, that's true. Jack Frost might follow you down there. It should. I'm sure Georgia must be nice and warm, though.
I know. I'll be complaining. It's too hot here. I want to go back.
Yeah, that's like all the real hot. The reptiles are out there in Georgia. The alligators and the cottonmouths.
Hey, you would have loved it. I know you like all reptiles. And the other day I was driving home, and I happen to live near a place where they have this special turtle. If you punch it up, I forget the name of it. But it's primarily located in a specific bay on Lake George called Sandy Bay. And every year they cross the road and lay their eggs and come back. And, you got to be conscious of it. Otherwise, you run them over, because they're not as fast as a runner as I am. But because of the cold, now you correct me if I'm wrong, but turtles are like snakes, right? Like when it's a little cold, they're not so inclined to move, right?
Right, they're ectotherms, or cold-blooded. I mean, they're the temperature of their surroundings.
So there was this giant, turtle, just taking his sweet-ass time crossing the road, and I'm like, I'm looking at them, and they're nasty. They're pretty big, and they do, they will snap your hand off, and I started panicking. I'm like, oh man, some idiot with a pickup truck is gonna come flying by and kill this thing, and I basically had to coax the thing across the road, but amazing. I love it. It had to be 50 years old. I love those things, that, not that I'm a big reptile guy like you, but I love the fact that they're still here, prehistoric type stuff,
Oh yeah, and it's funny you say that because it was a couple years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. The last time I was at the Hall of Fame up there in upstate New York, I almost killed myself trying to save a turtle who was crossing the highway. But he did. He got like right over the white line on the side for the breakdown lane, and a truck went right by his face, and he seemed to get the idea. I think I'm going to turn around. Yeah, he did turn around.
Well, we're on the way. Like I'm going to St. Simon's, and they have these sea turtles, right? That cross the road, and it's such a thing over there. Or maybe it's not a sea turtle; it's a type of turtle. Sal knows more than I do, but it's such a thing that they actually have because there's these bridges, where you're going over the wetlands and what have you, and as you're going into the island, and they actually have these spots with the turtles because there's like this divider on this road where they're separating the traffic going one way to the other, and there's these little like mini passageways so the turtles can get through to go to the other side, which is pretty cool. And there's signs all over, watch out for the turtles, and that's what we need here because we do have a run of it. But hey, we'll talk reptiles on another show.
Yeah, something, and you of course remember when you're going back to that area of the country. You remember the tear in my eye when I realized that gator heads at the Florida gas stations did not mean little styrofoam rah 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 to the University
for the Florida Gator. I tell that story all the time. What are you kidding me? You made a very big impact on my life about that. Driving back.
They're decapitated alligators.
You'll never, it's so funny seeing you're going. I'll never forget it. I'm getting gas, and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go in. Oh, there's gator. Oh, gator heads. Oh, I'm gonna go in the bathroom." You come out, and you're like, "You know what they mean in there when they say gator heads, right?" And I'm going, "Yeah." And you're going, "I thought it was from don't they have a team called the Florida Gators or something?" I was like, "Yeah." I kind of figured you were gonna get a little upset, but. Anyway, tell us about Rocky Graziano.
Yeah, this guy's great. And I mean, I tell you something, excuse me, almost everything about him, so much of his mannerisms, the way he talks, the things he said, he was a character, and he has been duplicated, and it's almost like it's become a cliche whenever you hear like on a sitcom or a TV show or in a short story or something. Very often the stereotypical boxer is based very much on Rocky Graziano. He was a D's and does and dems kind of guy. He grew up a juvenile delinquent. His story, in a way, it's the male version of the Cinderella story. He was born Thomas Rocco Barbella. And actually, I noticed this. One source I saw says today's his birthday, June 7th, 1922, but the other sources say January 1st, 1919. So I'm not sure, though there seems to be more repetition of the January the 1919 date, but even the Boxing Hall of Fame, they say it was June 6th, 1922. So that's yesterday. So whatever. We know he was born, and he grew up in New York, and I'm sorry, but they're cutting the lawn here, so you might hear some loud background noise in a second. Yeah, he's got into a little bit of trouble.
Loud noise. It sounds like
ended up going out into a reform school. His first arrest was at 12, where he was trying to crack open some Subway gumball machine, and I'm not sure if he was after the gum or the quarters, maybe both. Well, back then it might have been pennies, huh, Billy C?
They used to actually have penny candy that cost a penny, but you weren't kidding. It sounded like I was waiting for a lawnmower guy to just come right behind you. It sounded like, What is he cutting his carpet? I mean, what's going on in there?
It seems like this happened last week too. At this exact time, they were outside the window. He's coming back for another round.
Well, you know, we will. I will say this while he passes by, and I'll mute you for a second. But you know, the bottom line is Rocky Graziano. I said it yesterday. It was a great stuff with him. He says, I wasn't as bad as people thought. I only stole things that began with an a truck, a car, you know. And Bert Sugar and Bert Sugar said in his book, I know you used the greatest fighters of all time. He ranked Rocky Graziano in his top 100 at number 98. And Bert Sugar said he was raised on New York's Lower East Side, where both sides of the track were wrong. I thought that was pretty funny too, you know. But so many things you could come up with Rocky Graziano, all the lines he came up with, and that's even before he steps foot in the ring.
Oh, yeah, that's what's so great about him. And, I mean, just some of the quotes about him in terms of in the ring. This, I thought, was a great one from W.C. Hines, who, of course, was a writer for years for the New York Sun. This is the way he said about, you could louse Rocky up if you wanted him to jab and move. So what you did was get him in shape and turn him loose. And that was the kind of fighter he was. He had a very atavistic style, wide swinging, incredible capacity for to take punishment, just consistent, overwhelming pressure. He hit really hard. In a way, I mean, I guess you could think he was sort of a Gotti-ish, way before Gotti. Gotti, of course, takes after him. He also was 20 pounds heavier than Gotti. And one thing that's very important is just like maybe a Matthew Saad Muhammad, these guys had those sort of incredible brawler qualities that people grew to love recently in Arturo Gotti, but they were the best in the world. Gotti never reached that status. Rocky Graziano, Matthew Saad Muhammad, they were undisputed champions, and that, of course, is why he gets major credentials for that. But you're right that there was not a lot of science in his style. But yeah, and he eventually went into movies, and people probably remember him for commercials, and even one of the stories he liked to tell was that Hollywood producers would sit around thinking about a role, and they would like, you know what we should do is we should get a real stupid guy, kind of like a Rocky Graziano. And one of the other guys at the meeting said, "Hey, why don't we get Rocky Graziano?"
Yeah. No, that's what made he was able to capitalize basically on his own personality and stuff. But as a fighter, in my opinion, the greatest fighter of all time, the best ever, if you will, Sugar Ray Robinson, who fought Graziano in the early 50s, 1952 to be exact, said that no one ever hit him. And he fought Jake LaMotta 6 times. No one ever hit him harder than Rocky Graziano. So obviously he had a solid punch. We all know that he was in some serious trouble as a kid. He joined the Army. He got in trouble in the Army, went AWOL, but ended up, getting into boxing. Felt that we fought a couple of amateur fights. Felt that it was easy. He won a watch. He hocked it for $15. He said, "Oh, this is an easy way to make $15." It wasn't all roses for him. I mean, he was the subject of some underhanded stuff that went on in the sport at the time, and tell us all about that.
Yeah, he was involved in a fixed fight, and he did take a bribe, and that kind of haunted him. That was one of the obstacles to making the Zale fight, the first Zale fight. But and this is one of the things that. And I think you see echoes of this in so many other fighters who get into trouble. Guys that are fallible, guys that do the wrong thing, but then they fall on their sword and they take responsibility for what they did. They become beloved in our sport. Guys like Mike Tyson, Fernando Vargas, any guys like that. There's so many more that might have had a little trouble history. And that was the case with Graziano. He did go before a hearing and confessed to it and got a little weepy about it and everything. But people did forgive him, and he did it for the money, obviously. But
$50,000.
Yeah, I mean, he had a problem with authority. I mean, that was another reason why he was likable. He had, when he went in the service, and it was one of those situations where it was like, you go to jail or you go to the service, he was kicked out, dishonorably discharged. He socked an officer, and then he just took off, went AWOL, and that was part of why he was sort of got the name Rocky Graziano. He took the name of a sister's boyfriend because he had started boxing under his own name, and then he actually lost as an amateur to a guy named, I think it was Antonio Hernandez, and then he, Antonio Fernandez, and then he ended up having the incident with the Army, and he came back and took the name of the sister's boyfriend, and that's what ended up sticking. But that one of the funny things was he eventually got in trouble because of that name, because that guy had a longer rap sheet than he did.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Actually, I was wrong. He got $100,000 for the fixed fight, but yeah. Well, you mentioned the Zale. Those fights were outrageous fights. The ironic thing that always sticks out in my mind with those, Alex, was they both knocked each other out in the same round.
Yeah, that's kind of weird about that. How, in subsequent bouts, the first one, Zale wins, and then the next one, Graziano gets revenge, same round. And, that was one of the things that's so amazing about it, is that it was stylistically a beautiful matchup, in that Zale is, the one who has the real beautiful boxing ability, whereas Graziano is the just the crude brawler. They match up so well. That's the thing about our sport. To me, that's one of the reasons why I haven't taken any kind of liking into MMA yet, is that there's a poetry in motion to the way boxing styles mesh, when that MMA never has. It's always an ugly tangle, whereas boxing, there's something beautiful about it, especially when a boxer and a puncher meet. And the fights with Zale were amazing. And again, remember, these are for the middleweight championship of the world. These are the two top 160-pound badasses on earth. At the time, it was a really good division because another guy who was fighting, people might remember if they're familiar with the Raging Bull movie, the Martin Scorsese movie. Tony Gennaro, who plays a part in that movie. He's the handsome, young, up-and-coming fighter that LaMotta takes great pleasure in making ugly, because his wife showed a little bit interest in him. Well, Graziano had a 3-fight series with Gennaro, another top middleweight of the age.
Well, he fought a lot of big names in big fights. I mean, some he came up short on. The Harold Green fights. Harold Green, I believe Harold Green's a Hall of Famer. He also fought Al Bummy Davis. I love Bummy Davis's story. Freddie Cochran a couple of times, winning, knocking him out both times. Of course, the Tony Zale fights. Another fighter in the late 40s, Charlie Fasari. He stopped him in 10. Charlie Fasari was another good fighter. But the thing that I've always noticed about Rocky Graziano's career inside the ring, as much as he was so entertaining outside of the ring, was the fact that in his last, couple of years of fighting, specifically from 1949 through his last 2 fights in 52, he fought some pretty big names in the sport. Johnny Greco and Tony Gennaro, like you were saying, Gennaro, fought him a couple of times. Danny Williams was a tough out. And then he finishes his career with obviously two of the great fighters in Sugar Ray Robinson losing in that fight. Despite Robinson getting dropped, he turned around. And this is what I always loved about, not that this is his day, but Sugar Ray Robinson possessed everything we want in a fighter. Excitement, he had hand movement, he had hand speed, he had great defensive power, and punching power, because not only did he get rocked by Rocky Graziano, he turns around and knocks out Graziano in 3 rounds in 1952. And then his last fight against a tough guy in Chuck Davey, he decided to hang him up. And his career after boxing, Alex, was pretty successful. I think he made more money after boxing than he ever made in boxing.
Yeah, and I think that in a way, if you think about it, he sort of became the model, excuse me, not only for boxers for what they could hope to do after boxing, but a lot of other athletes too. That idea that an athlete could have a persona that was marketable enough after their athletic days were over that they could capitalize on it and make a living off it just from ads and guest spots and stuff like that, playing a character like what they were, an ex-jock. So I think in that sense, that was kind of cool, certainly. Yeah, one of the little jokes that I think I forgot to say was he quit, he ended school because of pneumonia, not because he had it, because he couldn't spell
it. No, he came up with some good ones. There's no question about that. It added to the phenom of Rocky Graziano, and you could see why he was such a fan favorite, because let's face it, the fans loved Rocky Graziano, Alex, and the other thing is that the sport during that time is what really made it so great. And like in a lot of discussions that we have today, it's what's lacking in today's version of boxing. We don't have the Rocky Graziano characters anymore, the Jake LaMotta's, the Sugar Ray Robinsons. We don't have them. And not only that, but because we are constantly trying to be so politically correct in our lives today, we don't have the rivalries. We don't have the stuff. We get crazy stuff like, a trainer going over and assaulting a defenseless fighter at the time. We get those kinds of things, but we don't get the rivalries and the interest level that they had in those days and the characters that they had with guys like Rocky Graziano and some of the names I mentioned. And I think the sport suffers from it.
Well, I would agree with you that there's far fewer of them, and it's much rarer today. And I think the big difference, they're not American. I think the last one was Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao was a kid who was poor, come from the wrong side of the tracks, rough little neighborhood, was very small, got bigger, and boxing saved him. He became a millionaire, and now he's does movies and he's in politics, as Lennox Lewis would say. So I think it does happen. I think the characters are international figures from other countries. They're not from the U.S. anymore. But you're right. They're pretty rare.
One of the big fights that never happened was Rocky Graziano against Jake LaMotta, a fight that would have helped both of them. It was really one of the only fights that didn't take place. But at the end of his career, he went, like you mentioned, there was a movie written about a book first about his life, and then a movie with Paul Newman starring as him, Somebody Up There Likes Me. They also had another one, somebody down there. Actually, he became friends with Ronald Reagan, and they had a book on him, Somebody Down There Likes Me Too. I find that this guy, he also appeared on some television series back in the day. And, I remember him doing Midas commercials, or Meineke, one of the two. I forget. I think it might have been Meineke. And I remember hearing when he suffered the stroke, it was on the front page of the Daily News in New York. And then he passed away shortly after that. And, the guy seemed bigger than life. He was on a lot of shows. And I love when, athletes, especially boxers, become successful after their time in the ring. And you could certainly say Rocky Graziano enjoyed success after his career.
He absolutely did, and you're right. I think he made about, I have here, $2 or $3 million in fighting, and he did make more in his movie career. You're right about that.
Yeah, commercials and television. Car 54, Where Are You? He played a couple in. I think he played himself in some things, played some fighters in some other roles, and was a good guy. And
I just brought up his IMDb page, and these are all 60s TV shows, which a lot of our listeners now probably have never heard of. But the Mod Squad, he was a guest on that show. He was a guest on Car 54, Where Are You? He was a guest on Miami Undercover, and in a lot of the shows, it looks like he played a guy named Rocky.
Well, they didn't want to make it too difficult for him. But as far as his style, real quick, I mean, he was a relentless fighter, virtually no defense, used the face block that Andres Fonfaro was taught by Virgil Hunter. But he had a devastating punch, was exciting to watch, and sold a lot of tickets. That's for sure.
And remember, one of the things one of the little corner dramas that, of course, is forever immortalized in Rocky Balboa is the Cut Me Mick Cut Me. That's sort of based on Whitey Bimstein, Graziano's amazing trainer, who I think it is one of the Zale fights, took a a silver $50 out of his pocket and used it to mash the swelling away from his eyes so he could see.
And that was one of the funny thing about that is the guy got the idea to develop the end swell from that.
It sure seems like it.
And that was created years after, and they were like, oh yeah, but and they made it cold and all that stuff. I know we're running out of time. I wanted to get your thoughts on some other stuff, but how did Rocky do in the title bout?
He did very well against Canelo Alvarez. I put him in against both our two-headed middleweight champion right now. You have the man who is likely to be king on the September 17th, and the guy who is until September 16th, at least right now, undisputed champion, Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin. First, I put him in against Canelo. The first fight, Graziano wins by TKO in round number 10, 2 minutes and 16 seconds of the 10th. He has Cinnamon down twice in that 10th round. When they fight 100 times, Graziano goes ahead at 65 wins, 23 losses, 12 draws. Graziano scored 34 big knockouts, and Canelo, in his 23 victories, was able to stop Graziano 5 times. Against Triple G, the first time they fight, Graziano wins a unanimous decision. In a rough fight, the scores were 117 to 108 twice, and one score of 114 to 111. Triple G was dropped in the 6th, 11th, and 12th. When they fight 100 times, Graziano gets the best of him. 79 victories, 20 defeats, 1 draw, 63 big wins coming by the way of knockout. And in his 20 victories, Golovkin scored 12 KOs.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. But with Triple G's ability to cut off the ring, maybe it does surprise me a little bit. But Alex, great job.
Yes, but they're all 12 rounders too. So that's the thing that's you got to remember in this. I don't know. As much as it does seem that the older age guys do better, the guys from yesteryear, they fought 15 rounders. All these other guys are 12 rounders, and I'm setting it for 12 rounders. So maybe that has an impact.
Yeah, well, it could be. Real quick, I know we're over the time, and I got to take a break and get out of here. But we're talking a little about the rematch that pretty much is going to be announced. Are you pro or negative on it?
I am absolutely pro for the rematch. I'm very excited. Yes, I think it's very likely Joshua will do the same thing and do it quicker. I'm actually kind of hoping that's what he does. And I think he's already answered so many questions about himself as a champion. That's the next thing for him to answer. I also thought it was such a great fight. It deserves a rematch. And I think that Wladimir, it was one of the best fights of his entire career. So by that token alone, and he was inches away from winning. So by that token alone, he certainly deserved a rematch. Yeah, I'm excited. Another great fight. If it happens before the end of this year, 2017 is going to be a hard year to top.
No, it is. It has to happen before December 2nd.
That's thrilling.
The end of October, beginning of November is where it's penciled in. We should get an official press release on that sometime next week. Speaking of next week, we will be on the road. I'll be in St. Simons, so we won't be doing a live show, but we expect you to be here for our rematch, Andre Ward and Kovalev post-fight show, which we'll be doing live.
Awesome. I'm very excited for that fight, and I will definitely be either calling in or Skyping in, whatever you'd like.
Sounds good, my man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Billy C. Take care.
Great job from Alex Perpali. As usual, with the blast from the past, I'm past my break time, so I'm probably going to get scolded for that. So I will take a break, and when we come back, Sal Rocky Senecola joins us.
Billy C. will be right back. Part of the Billy C. Boxing Network.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And speaking about being with us, again, rushing to get his headset on because he's, throwing down the coffee, is my man Sal Rocky Senecola. As he's sipping the coffee, just like a dentist. Hey, you doing? When he's got his hand halfway down your throat. But hey,
what's going on?
That's what they do. That's what they do. It's like when you go and you're at a restaurant and the waitress comes over and says, just as you take a bite of that burger, hey, how's everything? Is it okay? Anyway.
Strategically, I think dentists do that to get your mind off their being in your mouth.
How do they understand? Yeah, they respond to you. Yeah. So how you doing? So, oh, really? You cut your lawn today? Oh, you got a new car? Oh, good. But anyway, Sal, I know you had some something to add about Rocky Graziano. Alex and I got into it, and we started goofing around a little bit, and we didn't get as deep as I would have liked. Time restraints, but. You had some Rocky Graziano stories, right?
Let me tell you, I think that Rocky deserves a revisit from Alex again, not too far in the future. I love Rocky Graziano. He was probably one of the first figures of boxing brought to my light as a young kid, a young boy growing up and wanting to box. Probably from the get-go, hearing my family talk about it in the parlor talk, we would hear talk about Rocky Graziano, all his great fights, and then I'd watch that movie Somebody Up There Likes Me with Paul Newman, and I've had opportunities as a young adult, even as an amateur, meeting Rocky Graziano, and I think the first person that was responsible for me to meet Rocky Graziano was Lou Duva, and when Lou had a big interest in my career. And then from then on, I met Rocky several times at Gleason's gym. Rocky came to my first 3 or 4 fights at the Sands Casino. And the one time he came into my dressing room after my 4th win, my 4th fight, and he talked to me because we knew each other by then. And he would say, "Sal, you look good. You look like me when I was a kid. You look like this. You're going to be a champ one day. I feel it. But I got to ask you a question." I said, "What's that, Rock?" He says, "You're the only Italian undefeated fighter I know that doesn't have a ring name. What's with that?" I said, "Well, Rocky, this is my 4th pro fight." I said, "Rocky, I really haven't thought about it. I don't know. What do you think I should use?" He goes, "I'll tell you what, Sal. Why don't you take my name? Use Rocky. You could have my permission. I want you to call yourself Rocky Senacola. Every time you fight, I want you to go in the ring as Rocky. It'll bring you good luck, and I promise you it'll never disappoint you." I said, "Rocky, I'm honored. I mean, really?" And he said, yeah. I want you to use Rocky from now on. And sure enough, that's when I started calling myself Sal Rocky Senacola. Didn't want to disrespect my father totally because I was a Salvatore trio. There was 2 others before me, my father and my grandfather. So that's how I got the Rocky out of Sal Rocky Senacola from Rocky Graziano himself. And then one of my favorite afternoons with Rocky Graziano is when I was close with Al Certo. Great guy. And I was thinking about Al taking over my career. It was after Richie Giacchetti, and Al was allowing me to come to his gym in Bufano's, and I'd spar with Buddy McGirt and have a great time. And so Al was also involved. He took over Mustafa Hamshow's career after, I think, Customato pass and things like that. Somehow he got Mustafa Hamshow. And Mustafa Hamshow opened up a Syrian restaurant in Brooklyn. And Mustafa Hamshow, before his fight with Hagler, had a press conference at his restaurant, a Syrian restaurant in Brooklyn. And I was an invited guest of Al Certo, along with one of the reporters from New Jersey. His name was Joe Cesari. He did a lot of writing for me and things. And who was the guest of honor at that press conference? Yes, was Mustafa Hamshow. But along with that, we had a contingency of middleweight champions that I was in lunch with. We had a 3-hour lunch, and it was phenomenal. We had Jake LaMotta, we had Joey Giardello, and we had Rocky Graziano. We're all at a round table eating Syrian food, I guess. And it could have been better if it was Italian food. But we're sitting, and I'll never forget Al. These guys, they were cutting it up. I mean, they were being themselves. And Rocky's telling a story, and Jay goes, "Yeah, but you got this and that." And Joey said, "Yeah, but what about this?" And Rocky said, "But I got this." And one would go, "Well, I had 6 wives. Yeah, I had 5 wives. I had this. What happened to this one? He died of eating a bad egg." And, they were going on. "Oh, mine drowned in a pool." They were going on and on and on, just having a crack up good old time. And all of a sudden, Al Certo chimes in. He goes, "Something, between listening to 3 of you, I'm going to need a freaking interpreter." It was funny, and it was a great afternoon. I'll tell you what. And the photographer and news guy there, Joe Tessari, had a good chance to take some good pictures of Rocky and I and some of those guys. And that's the crew we were with, and those pictures are hanging in my restaurant. I will forever love those middleweight champions, but especially close to my heart will always be Rocky Graziano.
You know, it's exactly what I was saying to Alex a few minutes ago. You know, boxing had those types of characters, and it helped the sport, Sal. You know, I mean, from your perspective, it was a little closer to your heart, but the truth of the matter is they were fan friendly, and it got fans into being, you know, I've talked about this a lot. I mean, we're lifelong boxing fans. A lot of people that watch or listen to this show happen to be lifelong boxing fans, but the young fans, and no disrespect to them, I feel that we are not, the sport itself today is not creating lifelong fans. Like, there might be some fans that follow a specific fighter, but these fighters don't have the personalities to make them be diehard fans. Once they start to falter a little bit, like for an example, Floyd Mayweather. You know, Floyd Mayweather has a lot of fans, and he's also got a lot of people that hate him and tune in and buy his fights and stuff because either they love him or hate him. When he's finally out of it, which, you know, hopefully he is now, a lot of those fans are going to stop watching the sport. That was the guy they related to. And, you know, these types of characters created lifelong fans. Like, you're born into being a football fan or a baseball fan because of your parents. Well, boxing used to be the same way. It's not like that anymore.
No, and it's sad because, as you said, you know, the connectivity these champions had with their fan base and with people in general was phenomenal. It was second to none. And that's why, like I always said, Billy, you see fans, no matter if they follow Mayweather, Wilder, Roberto Duran, this and that, there's a connectivity there that fans have. They can identify. That's why they lock onto a fighter or a baseball player or a football player. They see something in that person that they could either emulate or that they respect or that they admire. Whatever it is, that the connectivity today is not as strong as it was back then. And, you know, like I experienced firsthand, these guys interacted with us. They patted you on the back. They were part of it. These were legends, and they welcomed you to their round table, and they wanted to be engaging with you. And you know, another thing was this, and I realize now why every great trainer, you know, when I started in Gleason's also, there was Ali Stoltz. He was a great trainer. There was Chicky Ferrara, great trainer. And I would always thank them and say, thank you for showing me, thank you for showing me, thank you for doing this, thank you for that. And you know what they would say? The first thing they would say out of every one of them, and I was wondering, why were they all on the same page? They would say to me, Sal, just remember to return this favor and show some fighter what I showed you one day. Or they said, be able to be in a position to show another fighter. Now it all makes sense, Billy. They realized the importance of what they were doing in the gym, taking their experience, their old school, and having it duplicated through me, which me carrying on and have it duplicated to another fighter. That's exactly what they were trying to do, pass on that legacy and those pearls of wisdom and those things there. And that's why they'd always say, just make sure you pass this on to a fighter worthy of it one day. I swear to God, that's what they all said.
Oh,
every one of them.
And you can see today, they don't do that. Now it's like, hey, I want to fight the easiest guy for the most money. That's it. I don't care about the history of the sport. I don't care about the fighters before. I don't even care about my trainer because I'm going to get a new one next week, you know. So anyway.
Different game.
Hey, Sal, we got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of news we're going to announce when we get back. But next week, I will be with you.
You will.
And we are working on a project that we're real excited about. And we will be announcing that in the near future, along with some other stuff that you don't even know that I'm going to talk to you a little bit later about. And the thing I want to remind everyone is, programming note, we will not be here on Friday. We are going to do a show tomorrow, and tomorrow's show we will discuss the rematch between Kovalev and Andre Ward, which will be coming up not this weekend but next weekend. And then after that fight, Sal, we will be doing, that's after tomorrow. We won't be back until the post-fight show that we do live immediately following Kovalev Ward 2. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to talking about Kovalev Ward 2 tomorrow, along with all the other news. So we'll be excited about that. But Sal, I'll tell you what, as we get ready for this, and I will talk to you about this later. But it's that time. We gotta kick it to the curb, and we want to remind everyone to make sure that they tune in tomorrow morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'm gonna leave you with this. Ciao, baby.